On these slides, we're going to talk about character traits. When we were reading stories last week, we used dialogue and actions by our characters to learn more about them. And when we determined some words that we could use to describe them, those were character traits. Character traits are words that describe a character's personality or qualities that make them who they are. We're going to go through quickly those stories that we've read so far and talk about character traits for those characters. Here's a list of some common character traits. Take a minute, take a look. Our first story was Whitewater Adventure. Nina and her family went whitewater rafting and they got stuck on the rock. At the beginning of the story, Nina talked about how she was a little bit unsure of herself compared to the rest of her family who were all very athletic, and she mentioned her sister often trying to tell her what to do. So at the beginning, we could call her unsure. By the end, however, we could describe her as being proud because she was the one who came up with the idea to solve the problem, and her family was very happy with her. In the story Why the Bear Has a Short Tail, the fox was sly. He tricked the bear, making him think that putting his tail into through the ice and sitting there all day was how he would catch fish. So we could call him sly. He was tricky. He tricked the bear into sitting there all day. We could also say that he was mean because he had the bear sitting there freezing all day, which is a mean thing to do. And he was even laughing about it at the end. Then we have Bear. At the beginning, he's very eager. He wants to be able to fish like Fox. We can also say that Bear is patient because he sat on that cold ice I think it was all day long. So he was patient. At the end, however, when he realized that he had been tricked, he was very angry with the fox. Our next story was Second Day, First Impressions. At the beginning, Louisa is new to the school and she's hopeful that she's going to make some new friends. She mentions being nervous. She has those butterflies in her stomach, which indicates that she's nervous because she wants to be able to make some new friends and get along with them. By the end, she's happy because she was able to help solve the problem and she had the high five with her friend. So we can say a character trait of Louisa by the end is that she was happy. And our last story was The Elephant and the Crocodile. That was a short story, and we can say that both of those characters, Elephant and Crocodile, were both boastful. That means that they think very highly of themselves, and at the beginning they were talking about each of them being the best one and arguing over who was the best one. And then remember, they had Lion try to help them determine who was the best. So we could call them both boastful. Something else to think about is we can use words to describe characters based on the things they say and do. We can identify their character traits, but oftentimes in a story, we can also see character change over the course of a story. So a character will often be one way at the beginning of a story and then work their way through their problem, solve their problem, and be a little bit different by the end. So we found that with Nina. She was unsure and she ended up being proud at the end. Fox, he's, I guess, not really changing because he was mean at the beginning and he's still mean at the end. Bear was eager and patient, but ends up being angry at the end. Louisa, hopeful and nervous at the beginning of the story, but ends up being happy. And then these two, they pretty much stayed the same. They might have kind of learned their lesson by the end and been a little bit less boastful, perhaps. So these are character traits.